Welcome to the RadioU Podcast. Coming up, did you know you can sue a restaurant for putting onions on your burger?
Also, the college football playoff just got better.
All that and more on the way next. Howdy, it's another episode of the RadioU Podcast. Thanks for joining us. This was an interesting day, Allie. We had so many stories, we couldn't fit them all into the actual show.
No.
But good for you for checking out the podcast, because now you get a bonus story that was good that we just couldn't find a place for in the show. And that is that there's going to be an Elden Ring movie, which is a huge video game, right?
Yes, big.
And not only is it going to be an Elden Ring movie, it's going to be directed by Alex Garland, who's had some huge movies. He was just involved in Warfare, which didn't make a ton of money.
But critically acclaimed.
Yeah, everybody who saw it loved it.
Yeah.
He also did Civil War, and I'm trying to remember what he did going back further, a few more years. But a director that I've been a big fan of. And so he's going to be in charge. And it's an A24 movie.
Yeah, that's the most interesting part of it to me, which Warfare was also A24 and Civil War was as well.
I think he usually winds up working with A24.
Yeah, I don't know if he's contracted to work with them, but he clearly likes their distribution and the way that they make movies. And I think A24 is known as kind of a good director partnership because they do allow the director to have a lot of freedom with the movies that they make.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's going to give this, like some would call it artsy or, a little more like indie, but oftentimes that makes it better. I wanted to make sure. Alex Garland did a movie that I love called Ex Machina
Ex Machina.
Ex Machina,
yeah, that's a great movie.
That movie was awesome. And so he was behind that. He also did Annihilation, which was not a perfect movie, but also very creative and fun, and had that crazy bear, alien bear. So he's going to put a really interesting spin on Elden Ring. I don't know anything about Elden Ring, but
sorry, go ahead.
Given the name, it's giving Lord of the Rings, fairies, dwarves, wizards, warlocks, witches, and so that if it wasn't for Alex Garland, I'd be so out on this. But if just because it's him, I might have to give it a chance, even though it's not in my wheelhouse at all.
The lore of Elden Ring is very cool, and I don't want to give any of it away if you haven't played the video games or if you are planning to watch this, which I think you probably will. But it's expansive, and it also is it's very dark in some of the lore that it has.
Okay.
And so I feel like I just really love the idea of Alex Garland tackling this. I think he's a great director for this. It's the most creative decision I've seen for a video game adaptation.
Yeah.
I'll just say that. Because most video game adaptations, they're like, let's get the Michael Bays. Let's get the guys that know how to do action.
Yeah.
Which Alex Garland knows how to do action, but also he kind of does more of the high concept movies.
Right.
And so I like that they're pairing these two together and pairing them with a company like A24 that does more of the out there type of projects versus a Warner Brothers or a Disney that's going to stick with more of the traditional storytelling films that we see. So I just like the creativity that we might get from a movie like this.
Yeah, I think, and like you go back to, again, Annihilation, the visuals that he has put together for movies too. He has a real eye for that.
With Ex Machina too.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of been a staple for him. And Elden Ring has gorgeous visuals and very interesting visuals in the game. And so again, I think this is as a creative decision, this is perfect. And I cannot wait to see what this project looks like.
Yeah, well, you're going to have to wait. I don't think it's anywhere. They just announced
it. Yeah,
so
it's going to be a while.
We don't even have a year for when they think this will be ready, but can't wait.
Yeah.
Well, if you were looking forward to the next Avengers movie, you're going to have to look a little further forward because it's been delayed. 8772 Radio U. Happy Friday, but not so happy if you wanted to see Avengers Doomsday. It was supposed to be coming out less than a year from now, May 1st of 2026.
Yeah.
But that has now been pushed back, and instead it will release on December 18th of 2026. So only a few months.
Yeah, not like it's delayed indefinitely or something.
But that is meaningful, and keeping it in step Secret Wars, which is going to be the follow-up to Avengers Doomsday, also delayed from May 7th of 2027 to December 17th of 2027. Just basically, they say to give the filmmakers, the Russo brothers and everybody involved more time since there's such big projects to try to get done. And Allie, I feel like this too. Putting a big movie like this at Christmas time makes so much sense. Obviously, there's usually a big release at Christmas time, a couple of big movies. But you put this, if you release it at the beginning of the summer, yes, people go to the movies all summer long, and that's just a thing, like to beat the heat or whatever, you go to the movies. And so eventually you go and see these. But there's also a lot of big movies that release during the summer. If you're Avengers and you think it's going to be really good, you can put it out at Christmas. And then we've seen like almost every Christmas this happens. There's a movie that for like the next 2 months into February, because no other big movies come out, and it just keeps making money on money on money, because if you go to the theaters, that's all you want to see.
Yeah, exactly. We've talked about this before, but there are plenty of December releases that you can point to that have such long legs because there's no competition. I mean, Wicked from last year.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know how long ago before this, but The Greatest Showman made so much money because it released in December.
The new Lion King movie came out at the holidays, and it wasn't even good, and it just kept making money because it's like, what are we going to go see?
Right.
We got nothing to do this weekend, so it should be, I think it makes a lot of sense, even though traditionally Marvel really seems to like having that big movie that kicks off the summer. Yeah.
Well, that's what they've done in the past with these Avengers movies is they, like Infinity War, Endgame, they were all May releases and they did very well for them, very successful films. But I don't think that there's any reason to believe that these movies will not be successful because they moved them to December.
Yeah,
I think they'll be just fine.
In fact, because they're giving them more time to finish them up, maybe the CGI will actually be good in these ones.
Well, you would hope so. Honestly, I felt like the turnaround for these movies was quick.
We were just talking like a week ago about the guy that had snuck onto the set. It's like they're still filming stuff.
Yeah, it's still in production.
Yeah.
Not Secret Wars in production. Doomsday in production, the one that was supposed to come out less than a year from now,
yeah,
which is insane. And so, I think this was probably, not even probably, it was needed. And I agree with you. I hope that it helps them make sure they have the best product ever.
These movies too are so do or die. You cannot.
You can't mess it up.
Marvel has been so hit or miss, mostly miss for a little while now. And if you can't nail the Avengers movies, then it'll kill the franchise. If the Avengers Doomsday came out next May and it was bad, it's over for Marvel. Like, they got to scrap it all and start and give us a break and start over in a few years.
I don't know how it can be bad with like Cameo Central every 2 seconds.
Yeah, but I don't know. They just got to make sure.
Yeah.
They got to dot their I's and cross their T's. Now they have a few more months to do it. Allie, the people want to know. They've been reaching out to me. They said, whatever happened to Allie buying a new car?
They have been reaching out to you?
Yeah, they've been reaching out.
Oh, they want an update.
Yes. There was a storyline. It's Chekhov's car. You brought it up like you were going to get a new car, and then now we haven't had an update in a while. I know because I see your car in the parking lot that you haven't gotten a new car, but what's the latest?
Yes. So I did go to a dealership, and I had 3 cars in mind that I wanted to see. And so I went and I was like, can I see these cars? I want to see these ones. They fit my budget and they look good in the pictures, but I want to see what they look like in person and, maybe take them out for a test drive if I like it.
Smart.
Well, when I went, and this was a couple weeks ago, they only had one of the 3 in the actual lot.
Yeah.
The other 2 were out for warranty work, which is like, okay.
What are the odds?
Yeah, not great. But so I did look at the one car. It ended up being a smoker car. So as soon as I got into it, it smelled like smoke. And also there was like a cigarette burn on the passenger seat. So I was like, okay, no, I'm not going to get this one. And I asked them to let me know when the other 2 cars were back from warranty work. And I have heard 0.
Oh, no. They don't value you as a customer.
I know. I was like, are they seriously not back yet? Like they said the one car had been there for a long time. And so I I'm like, what's wrong with it?
Yeah.
It makes me a little nervous. But then they said the other one had only been there for a little bit. So I don't know what they were working on. I don't know if they're back yet, but I have heard zip.
You know what's so crazy is I know which dealership you're working with.
Yeah.
It's the same one I went to.
Yeah.
Not the most recent time I got a car, but before that. And I got a very similar situation. I had picked out something I wanted on their website of like basically every car in the world.
Yeah,
they
so
have
many
so
cars.
many. It's like the biggest car dealership. And I go and they're like, oh, we don't have that one. And I'm like, what are the actual odds?
Why?
The one that I picked out and the two that you picked out are not available. Come on now.
It's so weird because also the same thing happened to my dad. My dad had gone before me, like a week or so before me. This was when I was first having the car issues where my car was in the mechanic to get stuff fixed and it wasn't drivable. And he was like trying to figure out which cars were available. And they told him the same thing, like stuff he had looked at on the website. Right. They were like, oh, it's not available yet. Yeah, there's pictures of it, but it's in our system.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just like, why is it on the website if it's in your system?
Somebody's lying. Either the website is entirely a lie.
Yeah.
Or you, every time any one of us comes in, they're lying because, and I don't even know why, to throw us off, like to already put us at a disadvantage, a competitive, because it's not the car we've done research on.
Right.
The games they're playing with us.
It's so annoying.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really frustrated that I haven't heard anything. I'm probably going to call them. But I'm also in no rush right now because my car was repaired. It's working. The air conditioning did go out. But then it came back, and it's been working ever since. And so I'm like, okay, praise the Lord. The air conditioning has been healed. Is that a great way to describe it? I think that's fine.
Sure.
You know, we can describe it that way.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So I'm doing all right. I don't need to rush anything.
We don't need to rush, and but somebody with inside information, what is the deal with the website? Why do you have it?
Yeah, let us know. If you work at a car dealership, why is this the case?
Just admit to us if you're lying. I don't need to buy a car for a while, knock on wood. So tell me the truth.
Yeah,
because it's not going to affect me. I just want to know. We're asking you to send in your go-to airplane snack when you got a flight coming up. Obviously, a lot of people are going to be flying this weekend, including me. What should I bring on the plane? 8772 Radio U. William says, I usually take Twizzlers and Dots pretzels. I know they already give you pretzels, but Dots has a superior flavor.
100% agree.
You're definitely right. I feel insulted that they give you pretzels in the first place, but the pretzels they usually give you aren't even good.
Yeah, I think pretzels that are just plain are kind of not great, and so you need to have some type of flavoring on them.
Yeah, and the plain pretzel, it's like that's what you give a toddler. That's what you give a kindergartner. Yes, I'm about to take a nap, but that doesn't mean I'm a little baby that can only eat certain foods.
Yeah.
Give me something better than pretzels. So, but Twizzlers, I like that idea.
Yes.
Clean, no smell.
Yep.
You're not going to be bothering anybody.
Yep.
But still kind of feels fun.
Fun. And also, I think a very key thing with airplane snacks is you don't want stuff that dehydrates you.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want stuff that sucks all the moisture out of your mouth because that already happens when you're up in the air. You already feel extremely dry up there.
And
so,
they give you limited drinks.
Yeah.
Like they're only going to come by a time or two.
Right, depending on how long the flight is.
Right. Did you see Philip said beef jerky and alcohol? Some people, I guess, need the alcohol to get through a flight. That's not me. I normally am fine up there. Beef jerky, though?
I agree with that entirely, beef jerky.
So I love beef jerky, and that is one of my go-to road trip snacks. But because it's so expensive versus other snacks, it's a total impulse buy.
Yeah.
And so when I'm planning ahead, and for an airplane, I feel like I have to plan ahead, I'm probably not going to bring beef jerky.
Here's the thing
and I don't know if you can get that in an airport.
Here's the thing about planning ahead with airplanes is I feel like it's tough to plan ahead because sometimes that stuff gets taken away. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to maybe do an impulse buy in the airport, which beef jerky
makes it even more expensive.
Yeah, I was going to say, airport snacks, they know this is your only option.
Yeah.
So they already jack up the prices on all of that stuff.
Susanna said, oatmeal cream pies, Dr. Pepper, jelly beans, pickles, hummus with baby carrots. Then she
Everything
says,
you shouldn't eat on a plane.
and a bunch of things that I know they wouldn't let you have.
Yeah.
You can't bring Dr. Pepper. She does say, just kidding, I don't think I've ever packed an airplane snack, and I rarely fly.
Yeah.
It shows.
Yeah, but I think she was obviously making a joke. But
Yeah.
I do think I would agree with Susanna's thing there. Is I've never planned ahead with snacks.
You don't do
because
that?
I'm always worried that what I will bring, they will take out. And they'll be like, nope, you can't have that.
I mean, food would be fine, but this is a teachable moment, though. Obviously, Dr. Pepper is a liquid. You can't bring that on.
No.
But obviously, you can buy it in the airport. But the hummus, most of us would determine that as a solid, and it would probably be fine in our books. It's not a liquid. You wouldn't even cross your mind. But I'm pretty sure that would, at the TSA, be considered a liquid because I know they consider peanut butter a liquid, which is obviously insane.
Yeah, but they have very strict rules, and that's why I don't like to plan ahead because I don't want it to be a waste of money. I don't want them to throw away my stuff or eat it in their break room. After I paid money for it, I'd much rather just, yes, it's more expensive, but either eat the snacks they give me on the plane or buy some in the airport after I get past security.
I'm too frugal to do that.
I don't plan ahead like what you're talking about because I've done a lot of flying over the years, and you never know what TSA agent you're going to get.
Yeah. Whitney says mozzarella cheese sticks that get room temperature after they've been sitting in the bag.
I've never thought of that. I will say one time I was given this on American Airlines, and I was like, this is a superior snack for airplanes.
Yeah.
They gave you a little tub of grapes.
Grapes.
Grapes are perfect because they have so much hydration in them.
Good
I was
point.
like, I have never been given grapes as a snack on an airplane before. And they served it. I guess it was more or less of a snack because they served it with this little like pizza thing.
Oh.
So it was like pizza
like
and
a
grapes.
Lunchable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not
And
bad.
It was awesome. This is the best meal I've ever had on an airplane.
Yeah, grapes aren't fun enough for me. On a flight out, it's a vacation. I want fun food.
Well, the last thing I think of when I think of airplane food is fun.
Not when it's bland pretzels.
Yeah.
Get your popcorn ready. It's our Friday tradition, the weekend watch list, letting you know which movies are new that you could be watching in theaters and sometimes at home. Memorial Day weekend, a huge weekend for movies.
Yeah.
This is when some of the big releases drop, and this year, no different. Let's start with Mission Impossible. Mission: Impossible - The Final Reckoning. Ethan Hunt and the IMF team race against time to find the Entity, a rogue artificial intelligence that can destroy mankind. Mission: Impossible - The Final Reckoning, now in theaters. It has an 80% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay, not bad.
The critics are a fan, although most of the reviews are kind of like this from Peter Rayner of the Christian Science Monitor. He says, we've seen Tom Cruise do this sort of thing before, gripping the outside of planes and walking on wings and whatnot. But it never grows old.
Yeah,
So true.
I would agree with that.
So true.
It's always pretty cool.
I can't wait to see Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning and finally put a bow on this franchise, even though it's going to be sad to see it go.
Yeah.
But maybe Mission Impossible isn't for you. Maybe Tom Cruise, not your cup of tea. Maybe you want something a little more family-oriented. Maybe you want Lilo and Stitch. Lilo and Stitch. Do I even have to give the description of this one? A fugitive alien helps a lonely Hawaiian girl mend her broken family. Lilo and Stitch is now in theaters.
Wow, I've never read the synopsis for Lilo and Stitch, but that's a funny way to put that.
That if you knew nothing about Lilo and Stitch and that was the description, would you go see it?
A lonely Hawaiian girl.
Lilo and Stitch has a 72% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
Even though I have seen people saying it is the best Disney live-action remake ever done so far.
Wow, that's high praise.
But still only 72% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, here's the thing.
Doesn't say much about
I feel
the
like
remakes.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like our bar is probably pretty low for the remakes after Snow White.
We have a review from Kyle Smith of the Wall Street Journal, who's part of the 28% not giving it a fresh score. He says, the two human leads, Nani and Lilo, don't have nearly enough charm to make up for the deficiencies around them, which leaves the entire movie essentially in Stitch's claws. Yet, even his demented toddler on 3 espressos energy isn't funny.
Yeah, that's the thing. When I watched the trailer, that's how I felt. I was like, you can't get the same expressions from the people that you get in animation. And so it felt very like flat compared to watching the movie.
And the original Lilo and Stitch is so uniquely
good.
animated and it looks so good. Yeah, it's just I may wind up seeing the live action because I just do love Lilo and Stitch. It's one of my favorite movies growing up, but I feel like it can't have the same magic that the original did.
I'm just tired of Disney ruining my childhood. I gotta be honest. Snow
Don't
White.
let it ruin your childhood.
That's why I'm not watching these movies.
The old Snow White is still there. You can still watch it.
I'm not watching these movies because I don't want it to ruin my childhood.
All right, I have one more. This is a movie that's been out at certain select theaters, but now this weekend you should be able to find it at basically any theater near you. Friendship, starring Paul Rudd and Tim Robinson. A man tries to... Can we cut and start over? A man tries to befriend his charismatic new neighbor, but it soon threatens to ruin both of their lives. Friendship is now in theaters. It has an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay, that is a very odd synopsis.
Tim Robinson.
Something's missing. What's going on?
Yeah, I think Tim Robinson goes a little cuckoo.
Yeah, clearly.
Which I love when that happens. And I love Paul Rudd, so I'm here for all of it. Elliot Collins of Movie Files says, so glad I avoided the marketing because this was a pleasant surprise and I haven't laughed this much in a movie in years.
Wow. Okay.
So 3 movies that I will definitely eventually see. Obviously a lot to tackle in a weekend. But
yeah.
Also, if you don't want to go out to the movies, Mickey 17 on Max this weekend. That's the Robert Pattinson what? Parasite director. His movie is now in theater.
I think it's like Bong Joon-ho or something.
Yeah, Bong Joon-ho. I'm afraid I'm going to mix them up.
Yeah.
So what are you watching this weekend, Allie?
I am going to see Marvel's Thunderbolts tomorrow.
Hey, about time.
Finally. Yeah, I'm taking my little cousin, Carson.
I've been promising people I'm going to see that.
Forever.
Yeah,
I thought
since
you
it came out every weekend.
See it way before me.
I just haven't gotten out to do it. And now that or Mission Impossible. Imagine waking up next to a polar bear. 8772 Radio U. Don't worry, it wouldn't be as scary as you think if you were staying at the Paradise Hotel in Belgium, which is a zoo and a hotel all in one.
Ooh.
And it literally offers, this is crazy, over 100 rooms that connect to animal exhibits that they have at the zoo. So you have a window in your room that is shared. It's a wall that would be shared with an animal exhibit.
That's crazy.
The pictures of this are actually insane.
Yeah, they are. There's one room where it's like, I don't know if it's like manatees or something, but it's almost fully underwater with the wall that's shared with the exhibit. And like they're swimming by and like waving at this little boy that's standing by. It's like really cool.
It's so crazy. I think they have some that are with different kinds of bears where they have the water right next to you. So if the bear was swimming in the water, you would see it. Or, I think those are walruses or seals or something of that nature. And they have over 100 rooms like this. There's definitely this one with a polar bear. I don't know. I actually don't know how much this would cost you, but it is a unique experience. Allie, would this ever be something that you would consider?
Absolutely. I love animals. And it did say it wasn't that much. It was like $100 a night.
So just like a regular hotel, basically.
Yeah.
That's actually, how could you say no?
How could you say no? All you got to do is get to Belgium.
Yeah.
But, that's the expensive part for us for those of us that live here in America. But for, if you live in Europe, here's the thing. Europe's not that big. You could travel around Europe really quick. Like faster than you can get to Florida from Ohio. You can travel through like several countries in Europe. So if you're like living in Europe and you want to go on a fun vacation, like that would be a pretty neat one to try.
Yeah, it would be cool. I'll tell you why I could say no, though.
Okay.
This is my concern. So many of these, we're talking seals, we're talking penguins, we're talking animals that eat fish. And I don't know if you've ever been near a penguin exhibit at the zoo.
Oh, they don't smell great.
It does not smell good. And you're telling me that my room's going to be smell proof and that the penguins I'm not going to be smelling the penguins. Doesn't sound like a great experience. And some of the other animals too, even if they don't eat fish, like they aren't exactly hygienic in the way they smell. And you can pick that up through the exhibit. So that'd be my one
Well, they're
concern.
hygienic for animals, but
Yeah.
not what we would consider hygienic.
They don't
so.
smell good though.
Yeah, yeah.
So that would be my major concern. But the views though, like
Are
I've seen other
crazy.
hotels in the United States where you can get a hotel not even far from the RadioU studios, and you can like look out over like where they have giraffes or whatever from
Yeah.
a distance.
Yes.
I've never seen a hotel like this where you are sharing the glass that is keeping the animals in their exhibit
Yeah.
is the glass that's keeping you in your hotel room.
Is that also a little scary?
I mean, you got to have a lot of faith in that glass.
Yes. I would imagine it's probably pretty strong
It's
and
gotta be.
sturdy. But yeah, part of it is like the thrill of it. Like, you
Yeah.
know, hopefully that glass stays intact.
Right. Yeah. I'm a little bit of a daredevil. I slept between nothing separating me from a polar bear
Other than glass.
except for glass. We could see each other. We could
Yeah.
stare into each other's eyes as
well,
we
that
dozed off.
part I don't know. I don't know if the animals can actually see you.
I mean, they should be able to, right? Wouldn't you think?
Maybe, but also
You think
I
it's
would
a two-way mirror?
I would imagine it could be a privacy problem because I didn't see any curtains.
Uh-huh.
And if you're just like a regular zoo attendee, do you want to be looking into somebody's hotel room?
Yeah. Some of them have curtains, some of them don't.
Okay, I didn't notice.
I mean, I'm
on
sure
the
they're
picture I saw.
the way they're oriented, you wouldn't be able to if you were just a passerby in the
would
zoo.
hope not.
I would think so.
Yeah, I would
But
hope
but
not.
zookeepers could be wandering through,
Exactly.
picking up poop, and then what do they see? It's you changing.
Exactly. So that's the only thing that would be a little nervy. And even if it was something where you can't see on the other side, it would be a psychological thing for me.
Yeah. Do
where
you
I'd
want
be
the,
like,
do you want the
"Ah."
penguins to see you doing whatever you're doing?
Right. Yeah. No.
I'm not decent.
Nope.
This is the kind of collective action I can get behind. In New Orleans, over this was last weekend, a protest was staged.
Okay.
And there's definitely probably a lot of images that might flash into your mind of what you suspect a protest would look like.
yeah.
This was a great protest.
Okay.
This protest involved one thing and one thing only: bubbles. And
All right.
lots of them.
All right.
Yeah, it was a bubble protest. Evidently, there is in the French Quarter in New Orleans, you may come across places that like have bubbles from time to time for whatever
bubble
reason.
machine?
Bubble machines, probably for parties or whatever. So one guy that lives across the street, it looks like, from Café du Monde, was complaining. He says, he went on the news even. I think I have some of these details mixed up. But nevertheless, we have a guy in the French Quarter complaining. He says, I like to enjoy my property, sit on my balcony, have a cocktail without having to worry about a bubble landing on my drink. Also, worried that the bubbles could affect his Porsche SUV.
Oh my goodness.
And so the people of New Orleans weren't exactly sympathetic to his pleas, and instead they staged a protest over the weekend where they had all the bubbles.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. Literally, this guy who I guess is a vice president for some big cafe down in New Orleans,
Yeah.
went on this local television station and threatened to sue the place that had the
Yeah.
bubble machine because it occasionally would send some floating bubbles near him.
Yeah.
Like, what? This is some type of major inconvenience for you that you have to sue them for
Uh-huh.
it? Like, who are you?
You're living in the French Quarter. Like, come on.
It's always a celebration down there.
Yeah, but I feel like the bubbles would be the least of your worries.
Yeah, but also I just feel like this is, it's not a good sign for the character of this person.
Yeah.
You
If
know?
he's complaining about bubbles landing in his cocktail while he's sitting on his balcony
Not a good look.
or affecting his Porsche somehow, who else has he sued?
Yeah.
Like he actually went through, because I'm sure this is not a valid complaint. He must have more valid complaints in his life.
You would hope, but also, if he's this trigger happy with potentially suing over just a bubble machine,
Uh-huh.
how many lawsuits has he filed?
And what kind of what are you even going to sue them for exactly?
Right. Like, your bubble machine was out of control? It wasn't. It was a bubble machine.
There is no control over the
Yeah.
bubble machine.
Just Get over yourself.
I love that everybody came together, though, to give this guy the what for in a very peaceful way.
Very peaceful protest. I love to see that. You know, that's our American freedom going to work right there.
Yeah, and a total like I identify so much with these people because it's somebody complains about something so meaningless. Like you didn't care about the bubbles. Like if you were there, you probably didn't even realize that bubbles were happening. But then this guy brings it up, and you're like, oh yeah, you don't like bubbles? I'll show you, Bubbles. And all
now
of a sudden,
I'm Bubbles' biggest fan.
Yeah, Bubbles is my middle name, and I love that.
Hudson, this dog is my new hero.
Aw. What did he do?
There's footage of a dog from California. This was a stray puppy dog, and not like a puppy, is like 1-year-old Labrador, and I think retriever. Like Labrador Retriever, German Shepherd mix, if you can picture that in your head. His name is Duke, and in the early hours of the morning, one particular morning, there is footage on somebody's like Ring camera or something where he is out, because again, it was a stray dog, out in the dark at this neighborhood, and he had to fend off 6 or 5 coyotes by himself for 45 minutes. This happened.
That's crazy.
And he fended them off.
How did he do that?
I don't know.
I don't think I could fend off 5 coyotes.
The footage is insane. It's in someone's driveway in this neighborhood in California, in Brea, California. And it was 5 coyotes that are all snipping at him and, barking and yapping and doing what coyotes do. Mm-hmm. And I guess their plan was to try and eat this dog. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they were definitely trying to attack him. And he had to fend them off. And he did it for 45 minutes. And this dog, Duke, has now been adopted.
Well, he sounds like he'd make a great guard dog.
Oh, and he's just the goodest boy. If you look at the picture of him, adorable.
He is really cute.
Adorable little puppy.
This dog, he's a fighter.
He's a fighter. Yeah, and I say little puppy again. He's 1 year old, so he's young, but he's not little. He's got German Shepherd in him. He's pretty big, but he did what you would think might be the improbable in fighting off these coyotes. 5-on-1. Yeah.
And coyotes are pretty vicious, and they're all he's big for a dog.
Yeah.
But the coyotes are about his size. And so, you're talking 5-on-1. You're really outnumbered there. And pretty amazing that he was able to stand his ground and get out of that alive.
Yeah.
It'd be one thing because you could picture it like the coyotes come up on him. He kind of fights them off for 5 minutes or something. How long? 45 minutes is a long time.
That's a marathon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boxing matches don't last for 45 minutes.
I know.
That's crazy.
That's the most honestly impressive part of this whole thing is that he was able to get through this for 45 minutes. And unfortunately, I think it went that long because it was so early in the morning. No one was noticing what was happening and stopping these coyotes.
There was any cars coming by or something like that to chase them off.
Nothing to scare them away. And so this poor dog had to make it through 45 minutes of awfulness with these coyotes. But he did. He survived it. And looks like he's in pretty good condition. And again, was just adopted because he was a stray dog.
Yeah.
And so we're happy for Duke that he's in a happy home now.
Yeah. Well, hopefully he'll be protected. He doesn't have to worry about coyotes anymore.
Yes.
He just gets belly rubs.
Yeah.
We have a You Be the Judge situation on our hands. Let us know your verdict at 8772-RADIO-U. This one is, it's kind of simple. We have a guy who's suing a burger chain for up to $1 million and at least $250,000 because he claims he ordered a burger without onions because he's allergic. They claim he didn't tell them that he was allergic to onions. They gave him a burger with onions. And he says he needed some kind of, the specific wording is that he needed to seek the care of medical professionals, which I think is important. That might be the crux of the case to me.
Okay.
But let's look at what people are saying. Eugene simply says 3 words. Check the burger.
Check it before eating.
Yeah.
Especially if you have an allergy.
I know.
I would think you would get used to checking.
onion allergy at a burger restaurant and you don't look first?
Yeah, like you asked for it to be without onions. You did do that, but what is not clear is if he did tell them that he had an allergy. We're not sure about that.
That's the big dispute between the two. At least that's what let me reveal the chain. It's Whataburger.
Whataburger says
Whataburger
that
in
they
Texas.
didn't get told this, which I don't see anywhere in the article where it says the guy's claiming he told them. I see that it does say he ordered it without, which you shouldn't get it. You shouldn't get it with it if you ordered it without. But I do think that's an important note if he did not share that he had an allergy.
Yeah, if he just said no onions versus I'm allergic to onions.
Right, because if he does say I'm allergic and tells the employees, then it truly is negligent that they, didn't follow through with that request.
Yeah, that's a big distinction as well.
All right, and then we also heard from Tim, and he said, it sounds like this is a case of the McDonald's coffee suit. Sounds ridiculous at first, but ends up being completely fine and appropriate. The amount is not okay, though. It sounds like the restaurant is just trying to save face, and especially if it's McDonald's, which it's not. We just revealed it was Whataburger. But yeah, you knew where we were going. Because of all of the other lawsuits they've had. They've had a lot.
Yeah.
They have had a lot.
Fortunately for them, they can afford it. they can have a lawsuit every day, and we're still going to keep getting our McDoubles. Heather says, kind of doubles down on the, you have to check. She says, if you're allergic to onions, you probably shouldn't eat out. Cross-contamination can't be avoided with the way they rush to make the burgers, which goes to what you said of, if it's different if he said no onions.
Yep.
Lots of people order their burgers that way.
Because of a preference.
I'm allergic, which means you really have to prepare the burger in if you're severely allergic, which is, I've looked it up, apparently exceedingly rare, but it's not unheard of.
Yeah.
You have to prepare the burger completely different. It can't be prepared possibly on the same grill. A lot of restaurants throw the onions on the grill. You have to prepare it on a different grill, on a different cutting board, on a different this and that. That's way different than just ordering it without onions. Which
they may not even be able to accommodate for that.
Yeah,
they would have to tell him, we have no way of making sure that cross-contamination can't happen. So yeah, it's key to tell people you can't always expect the world to accommodate for your allergies if you don't tell them
if they don't know, even if they don't know how serious it is.
Right.
Nobody knows your experience of how serious it is except for you.
Yeah, you have to make that known.
Yeah.
And so, it's important to share that if you want to make sure your food is good. So we also heard from Chuck, and he said he could see a little bit of where he's coming from. He said no onions, but at the same time, you guys said he's at a fast food restaurant where they can get things wrong. So, it kind of is on him to not look at the burger. And I think a lot of people have pointed that out.
Yeah. One more from Shrew, who says no money while business. So Whataburger's off the hook for Shrew. While businesses should attempt to accommodate for allergies, it's ultimately the responsibility of the person with the allergy to ensure the food is okay. Did the dude not check before he ate anything?
Doesn't sound like he did.
This comes back to if he's allergic, and it could just be not only that not that it just needed to not have onions, but it needed to be prepared away from onions.
Yeah.
Because the oils or juices or whatever get on stuff.
Yeah.
He wouldn't necessarily be able to see that. But again, that's so extreme that you probably shouldn't be eating out, or you need to be so adamant and clear about how allergic you are.
Right.
And the thing is, he's asking for at least $250,000. So this is what it comes down to for me. But the only thing that we have, the claim that he's making, is he had to seek the care of medical professionals. And that cost you over $250,000?
Yeah, I was going to say, that is so vague.
If you weren't in the hospital and about to die, you don't get $250,000 because they put onions on your burger, even if you are severely allergic.
Right.
Either you did tell them and they messed it up and ignored you.
Yeah.
I don't think he should probably get anything.
Yeah,
except a coupon for another burger if he wants to give him another try.
I don't even know if he'd ever go back to Whataburger again, but I agree. I do not think he deserves to get that amount of money. At the end of the day, if you have an allergy, it is on you to make people aware of that. You can't expect the world to just know it. We can't read your mind.
Yeah.
And you have to be on high alert.
So we say not guilty. Whataburger, not guilty. You're off the hook.
Yeah.
And a surprise to no one that's been following along, but at least it's finally official. Executives with the college football playoff made it official yesterday. They unanimously voted to change the seating structure of the college football playoff. So it's getting a little makeover. 8772 Radio U, the new format will seed teams just purely based off of seeding instead of giving the top four the buys to the 4 conference champions.
Yep.
Now those 5 conference champions still guaranteed to get in, but they could be seeded anywhere. You could literally potentially in this format have a number 1 seed that didn't win their conference under unusual circumstances.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty rare, but I like this move. I think it was needed. I think it was necessary after our first time out with the 12-team playoff last season. And I want to state, I absolutely loved the 12-team playoff. I enjoyed the atmospheres we got to see in college football with, home games for playoff games. Those were so fun. And we got some great games. And obviously, as a Buckeye fan, I loved the ending. I loved that my Buckeyes were crowned the champions. But I think, there were still some issues. So I don't want to make it seem as if I'm complaining about the whole thing. I love it. But I think the seeding was the number 1 thing that needed to change.
Yeah. And there's a couple of things I like about this. One is specifically in regards to Notre Dame. They were the absolute team that was going to get screwed in the old format because you could only get a bye if you were a conference champion.
Right.
And so Notre Dame not in a conference couldn't get that. But 2, I'm looking at what would have been likely how the matchups would have been
the seating structure
in this previous playoffs if they had followed this.
Yeah.
And it looks to me like we would get much more competitive games in that first round. Because if you remember the opening round, the 5 through 12 seed matchups,
they were blowouts.
None of them were good games.
They were blowouts, yeah.
Notre Dame, Indiana was the closest, and that wasn't really that close.
No.
So this, at least on the surface, it seems like you would get, because you're actually getting the true 8 and 9 seeds facing each other instead of what could, or a true 7 versus 10 versus what could have been like actually the 5th best team facing off against the 10th or something. There's just less of a gap between these teams. And so I think that actually could lead to better matchups as well. So I think
you still probably would have ended up with half and half.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe
some of these
2.
Ohio State would play Arizona State in the horseshoe. I feel like that still would have been a blowout no matter.
Because I think Arizona State is not as good as Tennessee.
Yeah.
And they blew out Tennessee. I think Notre Dame would have still destroyed Clemson.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's at least a chance that would be a good game. And
Clemson was not great.
No, they weren't. They should probably. I mean, they shouldn't have been in the playoff last year.
I don't think they should have made it.
SMU against Tennessee, though, would have been one of the games that could have been good.
Yeah, and Boise State versus Indiana, I think that actually would have been very even, and Boise State might have beaten Indiana.
Yeah, so I think this is for the best, and I just, you know what? I kind of want to test this out and see, but I kind of hope this is just how they leave it. I don't think we need more teams or anything like that.
Yeah, I hope they leave it this way, but I do think they will probably expand to 16 eventually. Also, with this new structure, your number 1 seed isn't going to get screwed over anymore. Because Oregon, if you remember, really got screwed over. Because their first game was against Ohio State.
Who was what? I mean, Ohio State was the 6th.
Yeah,
and Oregon should have been playing an 8 or a 9.
For what was talent-wise a much better team than a lot of the other ones. And so, for their first game out as a number 1 seed, they end up getting crushed in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
And instead, if this was the format, they would have gotten to play Indiana or Boise State. Yeah. Much better game for them.
One thing I'm interested in after doing this playoff once is, will the teams that have buys actually be at a disadvantage? Because they all lost this first time because they've been off for longer. I don't know. Is that a thing or was that just random this time? I'm curious to find out.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hudson and Allie with a special guest all the way from Germany today. Please give a warm welcome to Flo from Good Weather Forecast. Yay. We're adding the new song Rebels of Hope to the playlist today. Flo, good morning, or I guess good afternoon for you all the way in Germany.
Yes, guten Morgen, Leute. Good morning.
Good.
I know, English sounds so much better, to be honest.
Oh, yeah?
German is quite hard, but yeah.
Flo, I have a question because I'm curious about this, and we've played you on Radio U for a little while, and so I'm almost embarrassed that I don't know this. You, Good Weather Forecast, you're a band. You got 3 brothers, right, and 2 of your friends in the band. What is the origin story of Good Weather Forecast? How did you guys get started? How did you go from being three brothers and two friends to, hey, we should start a band and make music?
I wish I could tell like a legendary origin story. That would be cool. Right? Like one day we went for a hike in the woods and we found a golden guitar hanging down a tree. And there was an angel standing and he gave the guitar to us and said, form the band. No, I think we grew up with Christian household and we grew up listening to Christian rock music. So our father, he was heavily into Petra and White Cross and all these kind of bands. So we grew up with that music. So it was always part of our lives, and it was kind of the pathway was clear that we're gonna start a Christian rock band as brothers, and so we got the whole thing going, I would say.
That's crazy.
That is so awesome that you grew up listening to Petra and White Cross. Like, I would not expect to hear that. And that is so cool.
The golden guitar story would be fun. But also, like, from the time you were, knee-high to a grasshopper, that you were like, we're going to have a band when we grow up.
Yeah.
I also love that story, though.
Yeah, that is awesome.
I think the cool thing is that I think it was 2 years ago, we also played with Petra. So something came all together, like full circle moment for us, I would say. Yeah.
That's amazing.
That is so cool. Well, as Hudson mentioned, we're adding your new song, Rebels of Hope, to our RadioU playlist. So tell us a little bit about the story behind this song, Rebels of Hope.
Actually, it's a very interesting backstory because the song is also like part of a project we're doing together with an organization. They are heavily involved in Ukraine, working and helping traumatized children through art projects. And one of their projects was they built music instruments out of war machine stuff like bombs and I don't know. Yeah, different weapons. So they built a guitar, and we used the guitar they built out of a weapon. We used to play and record the song. So that's kind of I think it's very beautiful because they experience so much hope through art in the moment. Although like everything around them is crushed and destroyed, and I think that was kind of the idea behind the song. Yeah.
Wow.
But also I would say like as Christians, I think we're called to have hope, and that could be a huge difference. And if I look into the world right now, especially the young generation, it's a hopeless generation. And we as Christians, we shouldn't be known for judging and telling everybody how wrong they are, but we should rather be known for spreading hope and being the most hopeful people around.
That is so true.
I love that.
Yeah.
And also knowing the story, not only the impact of what you're talking about, just living a Christian life that is, the impact of hope and how that can change people's life. But knowing the origin story of what's going on in Ukraine and how you're tied together with that is so cool. That makes this song, honestly, so much more meaningful. So thank you so much for sharing that story.
Seriously. And I love the idea of taking the weapons of war and whatever and turning that into, turning that around into something that can actually be positive too. That's so cool.
So amazing.
I love when we get to do these because now, like, you hear the song the first time and you enjoy it, but then you get the backstory and it makes you listen to it a whole new way.
Yes.
And now every time we get to hear Rebels of Hope on RadioU, we get to listen to it in a whole new way. So let's do it. Flo, thanks so much for joining us. It's time to say goodbye.
Okay.
To the penny.
Oh.
Yeah, it's official. The United States Treasury announced that it's not going to place any more orders for penny blanks, which means they won't be minting any new pennies, which means that you can continue spending pennies if you have them. Stores can continue giving them to you as change. Merchants can give them to you as change in cash transactions. But eventually,
they'll go out.
We're going to run out of pennies because they're all going to fall between our seats of our car. and we'll never be able to spend them again.
I don't know. I feel like I have enough pennies in my card that have just been sitting there.
To last a lifetime.
That will be fine.
Yeah.
Still going to remain in circulation forever.
I mean, pennies, they're meant to be durable. I think we are going to have pennies for a while.
I was going to say, we have pennies. I have pennies that I could probably look at, and that's like, they've been in circulation since like, the 80s.
Yeah,
the
before
70s,
we were
way
born.
before. Yeah. So, there's plenty of old pennies around. And that's not even the oldest.
We do have a lot of runway to prepare for pennies to disappear.
Yeah.
But eventually, we're just not going to have them anymore, probably in our lifetimes. So that will be interesting. They've been around since 1787. I wonder what was on, somebody knows this, but what was on the penny?
Yeah, before Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, because obviously that's well before his time as well. This might be a good time for us to all share our favorite penny memory.
Penny memory?
Yeah, you got any good penny memories now that they're leaving us? Slowly and surely.
I mean, I remember one time... I'm not a superstitious person, but I do remember one time because it's like the pick a penny, see a penny, pick it up, and then you'll have good luck or whatever.
But only if it's heads up.
Only if it's heads up.
Yes.
And I remember one time I was walking into like a Goodwill or something, and I saw a penny, and it was not heads up; it was tails up, and I was like, nope.
Not today.
I was like, I'm not picking that up.
Yeah.
That'll be bad luck.
That's your favorite penny memory.
I mean, I don't know. That's just one that came to mind.
I always wondered with that, is it bad luck if you flip the penny over and then pick it up?
Oh.
Which just shows how ridiculous the superstition is.
I was going to say, you manipulate the luck.
Yeah.
No, I don't
is that
believe
just,
in that.
if you do that and you leave it, is that paying it forward to another, maybe it's
you
good
flip
luck.
it for somebody else.
Yeah. That's one way to look at it. My favorite penny memory would probably have to be like tossing them in a fountain. That's pretty fun.
Sure, yeah.
If you go to Tennessee and Gatlinburg, there's a mountain mall, and the mountain mall, which has like 4 floors or 5, or I don't know, and it's got fountains that go like from the top floor down.
Oh.
It's kind of fun to like from the top, like drop a penny down.
All the way down.
All the way down.
Yeah, pretty neat.
Not dangerous,
also,
I don't
those
think.
things that are at like children's museums. Which is like
where you race the pennies that go down the
coins
drain.
that go down.
Yeah.
Like those, you use pennies for those all the time.
And that's a good cause too.
Yes.
I'm sure they always go to those pennies add up.
Usually like St. Jude's or something.
Yeah.
It's tied to some type of...
Another good penny memory when you go to McDonald's to the drive-thru and you drop your pennies in the McDonald's house. Yeah. Sometimes I do that.
Yes.
If I ever pay in cash. So, man, so many memories, and they're all
good.
They're gonna die with us.
I don't know. I think pennies will still be around after we die. Thanks for listening to the RadioU Podcast. Don't forget to rate and review the show.